Hey guys, so for today's video I have a digital speed painting for you, and I am going to be talking about designing characters and the way I do it. And just before I begin talking about this painting and the topic, I would like to just leave you a couple of links to some of my videos that explain some of the techniques I'll be using in this painting. And so the first one is, what program am I using? I'm using Krita, which is a free open source program. I have an introduction to Krita, which will be on the screen right now, and I'm using my Huion WH1409 tablet. I have a review for this tablet, it will be on the screen right now, and I'm using a couple of brushes in particular, which are discussed in my brushes video, which is going to be up on the screen. And then I'm also painting first in grayscale and then adding color afterwards. I have a tutorial on that as well. And then if you have any questions about lighting tips or color tips, both of them will be on the screen right now. Okay, and just before I begin talking about this painting, I wanted to say that everything that I'm going to be speaking about in this video, of course, is my opinion, but my little warning is I have a darker style, and so in some paintings that's more evident, in some paintings and drawings it's not so much, but I just wanted to say that a lot of my opinions in this whole thing will be tainted in a sense by the darker style, and so I like darker elements in my paintings and some of my drawings. So just take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you're a very happy person with very, very happy art, of course, my tips can still be applicable, but just kind of replace the dark elements with something that you like. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is this painting for a second, and I want to explain myself and say why I'm painting something that is super girly, because my stream of consciousness was me thinking about what video to make for today, and then I remembered I have a Valentine's Day sale. All the details will be down in the description bar at the top if you're interested in that. But I was thinking about the Valentine's Day sale and how Valentine's Day is coming, and honestly, I don't understand the holiday at all. Why is it a holiday? I personally I don't get it. But I was scrolling through my Pinterest looking for pictures that would be of good inspiration, and I found one of the outfit of the Queen of Hearts. Well, it was like a Queen of Hearts, not from any specific movie. And so I was like, oh, hearts, Valentine's Day, you know, the one kind of time that it would be cool for me to draw hearts. So I decided to draw the Queen of Hearts, and I was drawing the sketch, and it did not look very regal to me, and it didn't look like a queen to me, and so I thought I should draw the Princess of Hearts, and that is what I did. And so that was kind of my thought process behind that, and this painting took me about 5 hours. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background information on this painting. Okay, so cool, we're going to be talking about designing characters, and so I'm going to be using examples from this painting and from my mindset on how I use certain elements to create my characters. And just before I begin this whole thing, I wanted to say there is a distinction between when I just paint to paint and when I paint because I have a specific final outcome in mind. So sometimes I'm just tired and or I would like to relax, and so I paint for the sake of painting, and so I don't really care about my character or the story. It's just you know, something therapeutic for me. But sometimes, like for this painting, I had a specific finished goal in mind, and so in situations like that I usually try to think of a story for my characters. I mean, of course, it's not very comprehensive, but having a little bit of background information about your character will be very good in helping decide what distinguishing features it will have and what shapes their attitude, their pose, and their, you know, their posture, all that stuff. So my first tip would be to choose at least one great distinguishing feature for your character, or a couple of smaller distinguishing features. And so for this painting, I chose one great distinguishing feature, which was the fact that she had albinism, and I went from there. And so, I mean, this one great feature has kind of effects on all of her. Like, she's pale, she has white hair, her eyes are pink, you know, she kind of looks more fragile, and so yeah, that was my one great distinguishing feature. Several smaller but features that could still make a character could be the certain style of clothing that they wear, you know, if they prefer a certain color, they prefer to put their hair in a certain way, or if they have a certain haircut, you know, maybe their eyes are an unusual color. And for me, a big one is scars. I think that scars give a lot of personality to characters. By the way, this is my darker side coming on, so I'll explain what I mean about this in a second. And so the way I think about choosing the distinguishing features of characters are in one of two ways. I think that you should either try to imagine why the features are there because of a certain story behind them, or add elements from your life and your experiences that have significance to you. And so for this painting, I kind of used both situations. And so the reason I drew somebody who was an albino was because when I was smaller, people who had albinism scared me a lot. Like, I didn't understand what was going on, and I thought they were incomplete somehow, that they shriveled at the sight of the sun, and so they actually scared me. I was very small, like 6 years old or something, and so I was pretty freaked out by them because, they're very unusual. But then I have a certain friend who has 4 adopted siblings who are all albino. The parents adopted them on purpose. Seeing them and stuff, I became more accustomed to them, especially the fact that I'm around them more often, and I can see that they're not like shadows of humans. They're still people, and they're totally normal, apart from, certain impediments and the fact that they have white hair and pink eyes. And now I think it's like a super fascinating and unique thing to have, even though I know there's impediments and all that. And so that was one of the reasons I decided to paint somebody with albinism, is because I kind of have a newfound respect of the whole look and, people like that. I think it's very interesting. And also I love things that some people might think are unusual or they're not familiar with them, and so therefore they don't particularly like them, they don't have an affinity with them, and I like changing them to kind of represent something beautiful. So scars as well, anything that people might consider a deformity, like a malfunction, something that's wrong with you, I like portraying things like that in a positive and beautiful light, because I think differences like that make you unique and such a more interesting person. And so that was the way it had significance towards me. And the story behind this was, I was thinking about what the Queen of Hearts' daughter might be like, and how we have Alice in Wonderland, both the old movie and the new one, and our whole opinion of the Queen of Hearts is kind of somebody with a very strong personality. So I decided to draw her daughter with a more gentle personality. So the next thing that I do is, after I've decided what distinguishing features the character will have, and what their story is going to be, I have to think about how to place them in the environment they are. So posture is one thing, their expression is another, and so what they're wearing and in what environment they are. So for a lot of my paintings, I don't really have backgrounds very often, and so I like them to be more portrait style paintings. And the way I think of complementary elements to the certain distinguishing features you chose are something that will make those features stand out. So the character that I drew, her skin was pink, her dress was like reddish, obviously, her hair was lighter, and so she has this delicate, feminine, innocent look to her. And so I decided to make the background a blue color, and the whole lighting situation, I wanted to make it look a little bit darker, just to give the image some contrast. It would make her paleness show much more against a dark background than if I had this, sunny, lovely, happy, flowery background. And I like darker elements in my paintings, but I still like some girly things. It's just that I try to balance them out with something that is more serious or mature, just so that it doesn't become like an overload of hearts and pink and lace. So I would also say that you should try to make sure that there's a balance to your painting, because if you paint something that is super, super girly, all of the background is pink, the hair is pink, the clothes are pink and all that, it becomes subconsciously very uncomfortable to look at, because there's nowhere to rest your eyes, there's no contrast, it just doesn't work well. And so I would say give your image some balance. So make sure there is light and dark, or there's cool colors and some warm colors, there's brighter colors and more unsaturated colors. And of course these tips are just for a more like balanced painting. If you have a certain style that you like, you love super saturated colors, or you love very light paintings, obviously you can do whatever you wish to. I'm just saying in general the way I paint. This is how I think of it. So I had how light she was in contrast to the dress in the background. Also, whenever you're deciding what the story of your character should be, You can also decide if there are any immediate family or friends that have an effect on your character. So if you had darker themes again, if you had a story about a character with a more troubled childhood, something where they were very klutzy, you could maybe draw a scar someplace. And I know it's like dark and whatever, but I mean, you don't have to make it grotesque. It's just sometimes things like that give your character more personality. Also, if they were very self-conscious, you could choose clothing that had like a high neck, long sleeves, that was darker, more inconspicuous. Try to choose certain characteristics that there's, you have an explanation to why they're there. So if you want to give your character pink hair, don't just say, I'm giving them pink hair for no reason. Think about why it's so. Did your character dye it? Does this character come from like a magical place where everybody has different colored hair? Try to think about why your character has a certain characteristic they have. Also, if your character lived in the forest and it was always snowy, and they didn't have enough to eat, you could make them pale and thin, with sharp features. Or if they lived in a desert, obviously make them tanner. If you think about what effect a character's environment and the people around them has on that character, it just gives the whole painting more of a personality. Also, thinking about your character's history can affect the way that they dress and their expressions, their personality, and also their posture. And so for this painting, I wanted her to look like a princess, obviously sheltered from the world, still loved and all that. But also because of her albinism, she's kind of insecure, unsure of everything. Her parents kept her more excluded, from the world. And so I try to give her this look of like curiosity, but also innocence. And so that's how I try to express it through her posture, the way she's carrying herself. So yeah, I think those are my tips on how to design a character. I don't have too much on that. I haven't been designing characters for super long, but yeah, I think just trying to choose complementary elements to the features that you're using, I think that's just the biggest thing. And also a tiny thing that I wanted to say was I was listening to A Court of Thorns and Roses while painting this, so I had kind of that very magical inspiration from the book. And I know everybody says the second book is better, and I will get to it. I don't read, and I don't have much time to read, actually at all. I don't have any time to read, but I've been trying to listen to audiobooks, and it's kind of like a 2017 resolution to try to read more books. And so yeah, that's what I'm doing. I love it, by the way, if you're asking, and there might be fan art coming if I can do the characters justice, and depends how I like the second book and the third book, which is going to be coming out. So yeah, okay, those were my tips. This was The Princess of Hearts. I hope you like this painting, and if you did, if you found any of this advice useful, please give me a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated, and subscribe if you want to see more videos, because I put them out every single Sunday, well, mostly. Yeah, so I will talk to you guys in my next video, which will be pretty interesting, I think. Okay,